people, and these are real workers. I love the workers. We're doing a good job for the workers, and I'm thrilled to be back in Wisconsin. The optimism in this room is the same incredible spirit that is sweeping across our country, and even greater than that great day in November when I won the state of Wisconsin and when we won the presidency. That was a great day, I have to say. That was a great day, and thank you, Wisconsin. No administration has accomplished more in the first 90 days. That includes on military, on the border, on trade, on regulation, on law enforcement. We love our law enforcement, and on government reform. Today, we're building on that optimism, and I'm proud to announce that we are about to take bold new steps to follow through on my pledge to buy American and hire American. I can't think of a better place to make this announcement than right here at Snap-on. Just took a tour of the company. Good place, by the way. It's doing well, too. Standing among the workers who make the tools that will rebuild our nation. Your craftsmanship is incredible. It's a pleasure to see my good friend, Governor Scott Walker. He has been such a big help. He has been so incredible. Stand up, Scott. Governor Walker. As well as Senator Ron Johnson. We worked hard together. Thank you, Ron. And although he could not be here today, my thanks go to Speaker Ryan, who's represented this city for nearly 2 decades in Congress. And you know where he is? He's with NATO. And so he has a good excuse. And I said, Ron, make sure these countries start paying their bills a little bit more. You know, they're way, way behind, Ron. We have to do, I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron. But Paul, you're over with NATO, get them to pay their bills. I think that, and Ron, you have to work on that too. And Scott, you're right here in Wisconsin. You don't have to bother. We'll keep you right here. For a little while, at least. Also with us is a famous local resident, the pride of Kenosha, Reince Priebus, my chief of staff. Where is Reince? Where is he? What a good man. There he is. In fact, we flew over his house on the way up, and he got all excited. He's taking pictures of us. Rice went to school right here, just about a mile away, where he took his wife, Sally, to the prom. And that was a match made in heaven. Very nice. I also want to thank Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin for being with us today. Secretary Mnuchin is working to put together a tax reform plan to make our industry more competitive and also to provide a level playing field for our workers. We don't have a level playing field, believe me. You're going to have one very soon. And our tax reform and tax plan is coming along very well. It's going to be out very soon. We're working on health care, and we're going to get that done, too. Our Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos, is also here. Where's Betsy? She's around here someplace. Stand up. Thank you, Betsy. Secretary DeVos is working to ensure that our workers are trained for the skilled technical jobs that will, in the future, power our country. I'm excited to be joined today by students from Gateway Technical College. And remember the college president, Brian Albrecht. Thank you. Great job. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Your partnership with Snap-on is a great example of why vocational education is the way of the future. When I was growing up in Queens, we had vocational schools. They were great. We don't have schools like that so much anymore, but we're bringing them back, vocational schools. These are very talented people that love that type of work, and it's great work. It really is great work. So vocational schools are going to be a big factor in the Trump administration. Together, We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that more products are stamped with those wonderful words, made in the USA. The old days we used to use it. We don't use it so much anymore. We're going to start using it again. Made in the USA. For too long, we've watched as our factories have been closed and our jobs have been sent to other faraway lands. We've lost 70,000 factories since China joined the World Trade Organization. And you've seen that. You've heard about it. 70,000. The World Trade Organization, another one of our disasters. But this election, the American people voted to end the theft of American prosperity. They voted to bring back their jobs and to bring back their dreams into our country. That's why I'm here today. In just a few moments, I will be signing a Buy American and Hire American executive order. You haven't heard about that in a long time in this country. With this action, we are sending a powerful signal to the world. We're going to defend our workers, protect our jobs, and finally, put America first. I see all the Make America Great Again hats, so that's a good crowd. Those are good hats. Through the years, Snap-on tools have been at the center of our industrial life. Your tools have fixed the cars our families depend on. They've sailed with the fleets that patrol the oceans. They've fixed the planes that cross our skies. And Snap-on tools have reached the heights of space, used by astronauts in orbit to carry out their very, very important work. And I don't know if you noticed, recently I signed a very big order. We're going to spend again on NASA, the space program. And that's something we need, and we also need it psychologically, but it's going to be very exciting. For decades, this company has served the needs of American workers. It's time we had a federal government that does the same. The Buy and Hire American order I'm about to sign will help protect workers and students like those of you in the audience today. This historic action declares that the policy of our government is to aggressively promote and use American-made goods and to ensure that American labor is hired to do the job. It's America first. You better believe it. It's time. It's time, right? It's time. First, we will fully monitor, uphold, and enforce our Buy American laws, which we haven't done. Buy American laws require that when the federal government buys, builds, or funds a project, domestic goods and products should be used. But over the years, these Buy American standards have been gutted by excessive waivers and reckless exemptions. The result has been countless jobs and countless contracts that have been lost to cheap, subsidized, and low-quality foreign goods. With this order, I'm directing every single agency in our government to strictly uphold our Buy American laws, to minimize the use of waivers, and to maximize Made in America content in all federal projects. It's time. And for the first time ever, we are going to crack down on foreign bidders that used dumped steel and other subsidized goods to take contracts from workers like you. They take them away, and they've been doing it for a long time. Not going to happen anymore. We are finally standing up for our workers and for our companies. In short, this order declares that American projects should be made with American goods. No longer are we going to allow foreign countries to cheat our producers and our workers out of federal contracts. Everyone in my administration will be expected to enforce every last Buy American provision on behalf of the American worker. And we are going to investigate every single trade deal that undermines these provisions. Secondly, we are going to enforce the higher American rules that are designed to protect jobs and wages of workers in the United States. We believe jobs must be offered to American workers first. Does that make sense? Right now, widespread abuse in our immigration system is allowing American workers of all backgrounds to be replaced by workers brought in from other countries to fill the same job for sometimes less pay. This will stop. American workers have long called for reforms to end these visa abuses, and today their calls are being answered for the first time. That includes taking the first steps to set in motion a long overdue reform of H-1B visas. Right now, H-1B visas are awarded in a totally random lottery, and that's wrong. Instead, they should be given to the most skilled and highest paid applicants, and they should never, ever be used to replace Americans. No one can compete with American workers when they are given a fair and level playing field, which has not happened for decades. We're using every tool at our disposal to restore the American dream. In fact, when it comes to wasteful, destructive, job-killing regulations, we are going to use a tool you all know very well. It's called the sledgehammer. It's what we're going to use. We're also going to stand up for our dairy farmers in Wisconsin. And I've been reading about it, and I've been talking about it for a long time. And that demands really immediately fair trade with all of our trading partners, and that includes Canada. Because in Canada, some very unfair things have happened to our dairy farmers and others, and we're going to start working on that with Ron and with Scott and with Paul and with all of your representatives. What's happened to you is very, very unfair. It's another typical one-sided deal against the United States, and it's not going to be happening for long. So, Scott, you and Ron and myself and Paul and everybody else, we're going to get together, and we're going to call Canada, and we're going to say, what happened? And they might give us an answer, but we're going to get the solution, not just the answer, okay? Because we know what the solution is, all right? And if you guys can't do it, we'll bring maybe Reince. Reince, you ready, Reince? We better bring Reince back. Now, we'll get that done. We're going to work on that very hard. We're going to work on it immediately, in fact, starting today. It's a terrible thing that happened to the farmers of Wisconsin. The fact is, NAFTA has been a disaster for the United States, a complete and total disaster. And we're going to do some things. And we have all sorts of rules and regulations that are horrendous. Like we wanted started to negotiate with Mexico immediately. And we have these provisions where you have to wait long periods of time. You have to notify Congress. And after you notify Congress, you have to get certified. And then you can't speak to them for 100 days. The whole thing is ridiculous. NAFTA has been very, very bad for our country. It's been very, very bad for our companies and for our workers. And we're going to make some very big changes, or we are going to get rid of NAFTA for once and for all. Cannot continue like this, believe me. Big things will be happening on trade with other countries over the coming months, and I mean very big. We're also working with Congress on tax reform and simplification, and we're on time if we get that health care approval. So press every one of you congressmen, press everybody, because we want to get that approval. And it just makes the tax reform easier, and it makes it better, and it's going to make it steeper. It's going to be bigger, and that's what we want to do. So we're in very good shape on tax reform. We have the concept of the plan. We're going to be announcing it very soon. But health care, we have to get the health care taken care of. And as soon as health care takes care of, we are going to march very quickly. You're going to watch. We're going to surprise you. Right, Steve Mnuchin? Right? Secretary of Treasury. I see Sean, and stand up, Sean. Let's stand up. You know, I had no idea. I was told a year ago, he's been so great to me. I was told a year ago, he's like a world champion climber, climbs the trees. And after that, every time I look at him now differently. I'm very impressed with that, Sean. And he's also very good on television and very helpful. Thank you, man, thank you. We'll be making big investments in rebuilding our military and repairing our badly depleted infrastructure. And that'll happen soon also. Infrastructure, big infrastructure bill. Probably use it with something else that's a little bit harder to get approved in order to get that approved. But infrastructure is coming, and it's coming fast. New ships, bridges, tunnels, and airplanes will be constructed with American hands, American steel, and yes, American tools. As we work to restore the American dream at home, we're also working to restore America's standing abroad. That means strengthening our partnerships and ensuring that our friends and allies pay their fair share. And that very much includes, as I've already said in my little statement to Paul, it also includes the NATO companies and countries. They are really sort of letting us down in that one respect. And we don't want people taking advantage of the United States, and that's not going to happen for very much longer. I'm going over there very soon, and we're going to have it, and everybody's going to be paying, and we're going to be a much happier country. We're going to be a much happier world. No matter the circumstances, everyone will know we act from this core conviction that America's strength must be unmatched, and its first priority, unquestioned, the safety and security of our citizens. This is the surest path to a more peaceful and prosperous world for us all. Together, we can build a better future in the spirit of this company's earliest days. Great company, great history. I recently learned that decades ago in the 1920s, when your salesman entered a dusty repair shop or stained, a nice, beautiful stained garage floor, which I've seen many of, he would find a spot to lay out a beautiful green felt mat. The people of the company know what that means. And on that green felt mat, he would carefully place a gleaming set of new Snap-on tools. The founders of this company wanted their customers to know that the tools of the mechanic were just as important as the tools of the doctor, the dentist, the politician, or the business leader, and that his craft was a noble, noble craft, as noble as any. This is a wonderful story about your company and its Wisconsin heritage. And Wisconsin has a truly great heritage, and it's led by incredible people. But it's also a story that tells us a lot about the American spirit. In America, we honor work. We honor grit. We honor craftsmanship. We honor the men and women who turn dreams into reality with their own two hands. In America, we honor all of you. We are a nation of builders. We are the country that dug out the Panama Canal, that put a man on the face of the moon, and that linked our cities with majestic railroads and curving highways. We are the country that is always on the cusp of the next invention. But we can only get there with all of you. We can only restore this nation we love so much by working and building with all of you. We can only get there together. We are the one people sharing one destiny, saluting one great, beautiful American flag. I'm thrilled to be here today to celebrate our great American heritage and to proudly embrace our great American future. I want to thank the people of Wisconsin for doing so much for me. That's why I came back here, not just for the company, frankly, for the people of Wisconsin. You have been so incredible to me and my administration, and we will never, ever let you down. God bless you. God bless the American worker. God bless the American dream. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much. Tremendous honor. Thank you. Thank you very much.
President Trump there at Snap-on, shaking some hands of some workers there, standing in front of an American flag made of wrenches. Let's see if he signs. Here we go. With the executive orders to essentially review the H-1B or clamp down on the H-1B visa program, and then also, just to require agencies to buy more goods. Let's listen. Let's see what he's saying.
Lieutenant Governor, come on up.
State officials up on the stage.
Who should I give the pen to is the big question, right? I think one of them should go. Yeah. Come on up.
Okay, so as we watch him sign this executive order, Nia Malika Henderson, I know I have you with me, CNN senior political reporter. As we stay on these pictures, just on your voice, exactly what he's signing, why this is all, after a couple of weeks of really foreign policy-centric, international-centric issues he's been dealing with. Again, this is back to his mantra from the campaign, America First, especially with his easy for me to say, executive order. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this is, obviously in Wisconsin, a state he won by about 23,000 votes, a state that Republicans hadn't been able to win for many, many years. So he's going there to really focus on that brand, America First, bringing jobs back in that state where blue-collar white voters really made the difference. For him, what struck me about this speech, though, is how it really embodied how little Donald Trump has been able to do in this first 100 days. I mean, it was sort of all promises. It was all sort of looking forward to things that he was going to be able to do at some point. And in that way, sort of hearkening back to a lot of his rhetoric from the campaign. So he talked about we are going to do tax reform, but wait, we are going to do health care first. He talked about something big coming from NAFTA, these NAFTA negotiations. And from everything we've seen so far out of what they might do around NAFTA, it seems fairly modest. So I thought that was what was really striking to me. I mean, we've seen this White House really have a lot of action, but not much movement forward in terms of what they're able to do. And I think this event there, he's out there in the heartland and in a situation where he likes to be with people and he likes to hear the roar of the crowd there. But again, I thought this again was a testament to the fact that they don't have any W's in terms of legislation on the board going into this first 100 days.
Let me off the W, and of course they want the wins, and they see maybe Justice Gorsuch as a win, but we're coming up on 100 days, and I take your point. But Matt Visor, as we've been listening to the president talk, there has been some news that's been made in a different part of the country with a fellow Republican, Senator Joni Ernst, and she was talking in one of these town halls. As we know, all these members of Congress are on recess this second week, and she was asked, and apparently part of the question was with regard to all these trips that the president keeps taking down to Mar-a-Lago. Let me play that tape for you.
I do wish that he would spend more time in Washington, D.C. That's what we have the White House for, and we would love to see more of those State Department visits in Washington, D.C. I think it's smart that he does business in Washington, D.C. So I've had those same concerns myself. I have not spoken to him about the Florida issue yet. But that is something I think that has been bothering not just me, but some other members of our caucus. So I think that is going to be a topic of discussion that we have when we get back to Washington, D.C.
And just a little context on the Florida issue, as she put it, Matt, Dan Merica here with CNN had put out some reporting just last week on how President Trump is on pace to actually surpass the 8 years of President Obama's travel spending, just in his first year. Do you think the president will rethink his travel schedule?
I don't know. I mean, he doesn't seem inclined to, but it is striking, from an ally, from a fellow Republican, from someone
Right.
like Joni Ernst, who has a lot of standing as a rising star within the Republican Party, criticizing that travel and the money that's spent on that travel and the lack of focus that it seems to forecast in, her time. His time in Washington and sort of his ability to control what's happening in the nation's capital. And so I think that is an interesting sort of new criticism. Tying it just quickly back into the Hire America, you
Sure.
also have her hiring foreign workers at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump. So I think that's another area of criticism that we'll probably hear more about.
Matt and Nia, thank you both so very much on
Brooke.
that. Let's move along, though, because we are getting new information here on this latest development. You know that on this Facebook killer story, the manhunt had gone on for a couple of days. Ultimately, police found him, killed himself in Pennsylvania. We're now getting new information from police. Here it is.
Today, at 11:10 a.m., a concerned citizen contacted PSP Erie, indicated that Stevens was sighted at McDonald's restaurant on Buffalo Road in Harbor Creek Township. Stevens was wanted for the brutal homicide of Mr. Robert Godwin in Cleveland, Ohio. Troopers responded to that location, located the vehicle, and initiated a pursuit which traveled west on Buffalo Road through Wesleyville Borough towards the city of Erie. At that time, Wesleyville Borough police joined the pursuit. Stevens stopped his white Ford approximately 1 mile from the initial pursuit area. As the troopers exited their patrol vehicles, Stevens again fled west on Buffalo Road. The pursuit continued for approximately 1 mile, where troopers executed a precision immobilization technique, otherwise known as a pit maneuver. This happened in Erie City near Downing Avenue. This resulted in the Ford Fusion coming to a stop. At that time, Stevens used a handgun to take his own life. Currently, search warrants are being executed on that Ford Fusion and its contents. At this point, we cannot determine if Stevens had been in the Erie area, but we will continue to investigate and assist the Cleveland Police Department with this investigation. Although this was not the ideal outcome, we are pleased that no one from the community was harmed, including members of law enforcement. The Pennsylvania State Police extends our condolences to the Godwin family in Cleveland, Ohio. The Pennsylvania State Police was assisted by Wesleyville PD, Erie City Police Department, the Erie County Coroner's Office, Lyle Cook, and the Erie County District Attorney, Jack Denary. In closing, the Pennsylvania State Police would like to thank the public for their diligence, for their numerous tips over the last several days. The public was instrumental in bringing this investigation to a successful conclusion. Thank you, and we'll open up to any questions you may have. One at a time.
There seems to be some confusion regarding the ping in this area that a day or so ago it did happen, a cell phone ping, and then all of a sudden it didn't. Here we have Chief Williams in Cleveland saying that there clearly was. It seems as though he's been here the entire time. Could you help clear that up as far as when this ping happened, when authorities knew about it, and what happened with it?
I will tell you, as far as the Pennsylvania State Police, we had no direct knowledge of a ping. Everything we heard was on social media. Because Mr. Stevens was a gambler, we thought he may be close to the casino. We had our troopers on alert around the clock. We put email messages out. We put information out to our troopers. We were looking for him for day one. But as far as a ping, we have no direct knowledge of a ping. At least PSP did not. Yes, sir.
Can you confirm that it was an employee at the McDonald's who spotted him and called in the tip?
Right now, sir, what we're reporting is a concerned citizen.
Did they delay him at the McDonald's?
Sir, I was not there. I'd be assuming on my part I don't have that information. Although I would say the moment they recognized him and the vehicle, a call was made to our dispatch. Our members immediately got that information out. Our troopers happened to be in close proximity, and the pursuit ensued.
Sir, to the bet $50,000 reward from the FBI.
That's not up to me. That's not up to
And can you walk us through what you will be doing in the next couple of days to determine what he may have been doing in this area over the last 48 hours? How will you begin that process to work through a TikTok of that?
Well, there's a lot of things we have to do. Right now, we have members at the scene, mapping, forensic mapping the area, making sure we have everything we have at the scene. We have search warrants on the car, which is ongoing right now, Lieutenant, I believe. But there's a whole host of things we're going to do. Once we wrap up the scene, we clear from there, we'll start to backtrack his movements. He's been somewhere over the last couple of days. We don't know where. We'll have our investigators go out and try to determine where that is.
How do you backtrack movements?
Talk to people. Start at the restaurant that he was at. Backpack. Maybe talk to friends and family. See if there's any acquaintances in the area. Typically, when something like this happens, and you have the death of the actor, some people will come forward. People will start to talk. We'll keep our eyes and ears open. We'll make sure our numbers are out there. But again, we're going to try to find out as much as we can.
Sir, was that the highest speed chase or just a slow, let's go and stop him, he see you guys, or I'm not going to stop?
My understanding, sir, the pursuit did not go over 50 miles an hour.
Did you guys find a cell phone?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Walmart sighting, there was a report he was sighted yesterday?
I will say this, in talking to Captain Basinger and Lieutenant Klein, there was a lot of leads we had over the last several days. Every station in Troop E had leads. They were followed up, none were substantiated that we know of. Not saying that he wasn't there, but whether there was video surveillance, nothing captured him, so we just don't know. It'd be an assumption at this point. One of the things we like to find out is go back and try to find out where he was, if possible, and then go from there. So again, this investigation, as far as where he was, is just starting.
Sir, have investigators, did they locate the cell phone that was in that vehicle? And if so, has a search warrant been issued to begin exploring that?
I will say this, and I'll ask Lieutenant Klein as well. Right now, we have search warrants on the vehicle. We're forensically mapping that. We have our forensic unit members there taking pictures and documenting everything. So that's in the process. Is there any new information?
Sir, the pit move that you were talking about.
Hang on a second. I'm sorry. Could you please?
We have search warrants for the contents of that vehicle as well.
Sir, the pit move that you were talking about to try to stop the vehicle.
Yes.
That spike strips explain how you.
No, it's a precision immobilization technique. It's something that we, the state police, are taught at the academy. I'm sure other law enforcement have that as well. But it's a technique to basically stop the movement of the vehicle. What our troopers do, they make sure that it's in a safe location, and they go ahead and utilize that to stop the fleeing suspect. In this case, we knew that Mr. Stevens was wanted for homicide from Cleveland. We knew he could be a threat to our troopers, but also to members of the public. That trooper used his discretion, did the pit maneuver, and did it successfully, ending this investigation.
Was he inside of that McDonald's restaurant, or driving through the drive-thru, or parked in the parking lot?
No, ma'am, this was several miles down the road. You want to elaborate on where the maneuver took place?
No, when he was first seen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Inside of the restaurant, at the drive-thru, parked there.
Again, ma'am, what we're releasing is he was on Buffalo Road in Harbor Creek Township, is what we're releasing. And a concerned citizen called us.
Is there a school nearby, and was it locked down?
The school where he was stopped? Yeah, one of the things our troopers took in consideration when the pit maneuver was done, there was a school there. It happens to be an abandoned school. Our trooper knew that. That's why he chose that location.
How long will the scene be active tonight, do you feel?
I'm sorry, sir.
How long do you feel the scene will be closed off tonight and active?
The scene?
Approximately another 2 hours.
Another couple hours. That's one thing we don't want to rush. We're going to map it, forensically map it, make sure we have all the computer drawings of everything. Again, you only have one chance at a scene, so we're certainly not going to rush it, and thank God we have the weather in our favor today. So.
Sir,
Did he ever drop his weapon? Did he ever drop his weapon around?
To my knowledge, when the pit maneuver was conducted, the vehicle spun around, came to a stop, immediately he pulled the weapon out, and he shot himself.
Is there dash cam, sir?
In the car, in the car. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that, please?
Dash cam or body cam, sir?
We have MVR videos. I believe there were 3 vehicles involved that should have MVR on it. As a rule, we don't release that, sir, but we do have that.
From your standpoint, how relieved are you that this manhunt is now over and the people here in Breathe Island?
Well, clearly, no investigation is 100% complete until the investigation is done. Right now, to the best of my knowledge, and I'll let anybody else jump in here, We don't believe he had any accomplices. Our concern is he was somewhere over the last several days. Whether somebody was harboring him, whether he was under a bridge somewhere, I don't know. I would say if I feel a lot more comfortable now than I did prior to 11 o'clock. But again, whether it's somebody else, we don't know. But I certainly feel that the tension is a lot less now than it was earlier. Captain, would you agree with this?
All right, we're going to pull away from this because we actually have the live position now with our reporter Bryn Gingras at that McDonald's in Erie, Pennsylvania. And so I heard this correctly. You have this murderer roll up to the drive-thru and an astute employee who recognized him.
Absolutely, Brooke. I mean, you just heard a lot of questions being peppered to Pennsylvania State Police asking about that McDonald's. It's an incredible story. So Stevens apparently rolled up to the first window of McDonald's. That's where he gave some money, but didn't wait for his change. That worker, a girl, called over her boss, the owner of this McDonald's, and say, hey, I think that's Steve Stevens. Can you verify? He says, yes, it was. Only he had a trimmed down beard. That's what he said was the only difference. Still that white Fusion car. They called police, and then I want you to hear what he said they did next.
I came through drive-through, placed an order, got to the first window where he pay, and the drive-through employee that was working at the time recognized him or thought, noticed that the car was Ohio tags on it and it was a white Fusion, and took his money and he pulled to the next window. Meanwhile, she stepped out of there and called the state police right away. And I pulled my front drive-through girl out of the window and had myself and my supervisor present at the window, and basically just told him it was going to be a minute for his fries, which it wasn't really. We were just trying to make sure she got in contact with the state police, and he didn't want to wait for the fries, which was fine, but he took his 6-piece and didn't want any money back and headed out onto Buffalo Road, and about the minute he turned right on Buffalo Road, the state police was right behind him at that point.
So, Brooke, my question to him is whose idea was it to say make him wait for the fries, because that was quick thinking, and that owner telling me that they really didn't have any time to think. It just came sort of instinct to come up with some reason to stall him so state police, whose barracks are really not too far from here, would have time to get here. He says Stevens did look a little worried, and maybe that they were onto him, and so that's when he pulled out and started heading down the road to where this chase ensued. So certainly such an interesting story. That McDonald's worker should certainly be credited for ending this long 48-hour manhunt, Brooke.
To stall on the French fry order because they recognized him in those Ohio plates. Thank goodness this entire ordeal is over. Not for, of course, the family of Mr. Godwin, but for the rest of the community. Bryn Gingras, thank you very much. And thank you for being with me. I'm Brooke Baldwin. The Lead starts now.